Welcome back to Chapters Unfolded. I hope you're ready for another deep dive.
Yeah, this is going to be good.
If you're here to kind of unlock those hidden insights within the pages of self-development books, chapter by chapter, especially the kind that can really spark some personal growth, then you're in the right place.
That's right. You found it.
Get ready, because today we're going somewhere unexpected, somewhere you might not have thought about before.
Absolutely. We're on episode 21 now of Atomic Habits. We're going to explore an idea that might just turn your whole understanding of habits, of building habits, completely upside down.
Upside down. I like it.
Could the very routines that we work so hard to build, could they actually be the things that are holding us back?
Okay, so, listeners, you know we value your time. You've told us you want learning that's effective and efficient, getting right to the heart of things without being overwhelmed. So this deep dive, we crafted this specifically for you.
We're cutting through all the noise to examine how those seemingly good, those positive habits, can sometimes lead us to a plateau, even a subtle decline. And, more importantly, what we can actively do to prevent that.
So our mission today is to unravel this paradox, right? How the automation that makes habits so powerful, how that very thing can breed a kind of inertia.
Right, getting stuck. And we're going to talk about how we can cultivate continuous improvement instead.
So let's unpack this fundamental concept, right? Habits, at their very core, they provide this crucial foundation for any kind of mastery.
It's true. Think about it like this. Okay, a chess player, they spend countless hours internalizing basic moves, right? They become so automatic that they don't even require conscious thought anymore. It frees up their mental space to focus on the higher level strategy, the nuances of the game.
Yeah, like they're not thinking, okay, how do I move the pawn forward again?
Exactly. And this principle applies to almost any skill that you want to develop. Habits, they're the bedrock of excellence.
They are. So initially, every repetition of a new habit, it builds that crucial fluency, that speed, your overall skill in that thing. But here's where it gets interesting, almost a hidden catch. As a habit becomes truly ingrained, like second nature, our awareness of the subtle feedback it provides, it actually diminishes. We can slip, without even knowing it, into what the book calls mindless repetition.
Right.
And so it becomes easier to overlook those small errors, those little inefficiencies, because we're not as actively engaged in the process anymore.
Yeah, think of it this way. Once a skill becomes automatic, your brain can go on autopilot. So you might miss those tiny little signs that tell you the quality is starting to slip. And research actually shows that performance in a skill you've mastered, it can decline slightly over time. And that's if you're not consciously paying attention.
And while that kind of slippage, that minor slippage, might not be a huge deal for some trivial habits, I doubt anyone's out there trying to optimize their toothbrushing technique. Come on.
Right.
But it becomes absolutely critical when we're striving for peak performance, right? In areas that genuinely matter to our growth, to our goals. We can't just keep doing the same thing over and over and over again and expect to continuously improve to some crazy exceptional level.
Absolutely. Habits are necessary, sure, they give you that solid, stable base. But the book makes a point. It says they're not enough by themselves for true mastery.
So there's got to be something else.
There is. Mastery seems to be this back and forth between those automatic habits that are deeply ingrained and something else entirely, what we call deliberate practice.
So that's the conscious effort, right?
Exactly. It's that focused effort on purpose to push yourself beyond your current limits.
I love what you said about the back and forth. It's almost a cycle, this whole nature of achieving mastery. Because, to be truly exceptional, some foundational skills have to become second nature.
Yeah.
Think about a basketball player, right?
They
Like dribble without even thinking about it.
Right.
But then once they have that locked in, they can move on, right? The focus has to shift to that next challenge.
Right.
So mastery isn't like a finish line that you cross.
Right.
It's this ongoing cycle, this internalizing skills to the point where they're automatic, and then using those as a springboard to keep going, keep developing. So the old tasks become easier, yeah, but the overall journey, that never really ends, right? Because we're constantly pushing our boundaries, always confronting the next frontier of what we can do.
Right. So even though habit formation is so powerful, we need something to keep us in check.
A way to stay aware.
Yes,
Yeah.
consciously aware of our performance over time. And this is what lets us refine and actually elevate our skills even more. The book says the danger zone is when we start to feel like we've really mastered something.
Like we've got it down.
Yeah, when it becomes automatic and comfortable, that's when we're most likely to fall into this trap. a subtle but dangerous trap, complacency.
Yeah, we get comfortable and then we stop pushing ourselves.
Exactly. And the book says the answer isn't to just give up on our habits altogether, but to strategically build in systems for reflection and review.
So we're not talking about constant, harsh self-criticism here.
No, no, no.
It's more about creating space to honestly evaluate our progress, to identify areas for improvement. And we can even do this within our most established routines.
And this reminds me of the 1986 Los Angeles Lakers. On paper, man, they were a powerhouse, so much talent. They even started the season with this incredible winning streak.
They were on fire.
They were, but then they underperformed in the playoffs. And their coach, Pat Riley, he realized that just relying on their natural talent, it wasn't enough for consistent peak performance.
They had to do more.
Exactly. And that's where his career best effort program, CDE, came in. What's interesting is how he did it. He started by really digging deep, looking at each player's statistics all the way back to high school. He called it taking their number.
Like figuring out their baseline.
Exactly. He wanted a clear, objective picture of what they were capable of.
So after that, what did they do?
Well, the next step was the challenge. He challenged each player to show real improvement, at least 1% over the whole season. If they hit that target, that was a CBE. But it wasn't just about the usual stats like points or rebounds.
It was about more than just the numbers, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Riley knew CBE was about giving your all, mentally, physically, spiritually. So players actually got credit for those plays that often get overlooked, those unsung hero plays, like diving for a loose ball, helping a teammate on defense. These are things that don't show up in the box score, but they make a huge difference in the game.
They do.
And the book actually gives us an example using Magic Johnson's stats. It shows exactly how they calculated his individual CBE number. They took all his positive contributions, subtracted the turnovers, and divided that by his minutes played.
So it was a tangible number, a metric they could track.
Yeah, precisely. And Riley didn't just look at those CBE scores by themselves. He compared them, benchmarking each player against their own past performance and also against other players in the league who had similar roles. This gave them a data-driven benchmark for progress.
They really took it seriously.
Oh, yeah. And they even went further, comparing monthly CBE data year after year. This helped the team understand if they were truly improving or just maintaining the status quo.
And did it work? I mean, all this effort, all this tracking, did it pay off?
It absolutely did. The Lakers won back-to-back championships after fully implementing the CBE program.
Wow.
It shows you the power of consistent effort and, how important systematic review is. It makes sure those habits are pushing us forward, not letting us stagnate or even decline. The book says reflection and review. That's what allows for long-term growth. It makes us aware of our mistakes and forces us to think about how to get better. Without that conscious reflection, it's so easy to justify our shortcomings, and not even realize that we're not really moving forward.
And we see this principle of reflection, not just in professional sports, but across all sorts of fields.
Right. The book gives us some great examples, like Eliud Kipchoge, the Kenyan runner. He takes notes after every single training session. He's looking for ways to improve his technique, his approach.
Wow, every single session.
Every one.
That's dedication.
And then there's Katie Ledecky, the swimmer. She keeps track of everything, her wellness, her nutrition, her sleep, even her competitors' times.
And I bet she reviews it all very carefully.
Oh, yeah, weekly reviews with her coach. That constant feedback is essential.
It's like checking in with yourself, right? Making sure you're on track. And it's not just in sports, right? Even in creative fields, like comedy.
Absolutely. Think of Chris Rock. He tests his new material in those small clubs, He sees which jokes land, which ones don't, and he adjusts accordingly.
That's smart. I never thought about it like that.
And in the business world, they use decision journals.
What are those?
Executives, investors, they record their big decisions, why they made them, and what they expect to happen. Then later, they look back, analyze, learn from both the successes and the failures.
So it's all about taking that time to reflect.
Exactly. Continuous improvement is not just about building good habits, it's about fine-tuning those habits through deliberate reflection.
It's interesting. The author of Atomic Habits, he talks about two main methods for structured reflection. The annual review, usually done in December, looking back at the year's progress, and then the integrity report, sometime during the summer, focusing on your core values.
So the annual review, it's pretty straightforward. You tally your key habits, like articles published, workouts completed, that kind of thing. And then you ask yourself 3 questions. What went well this year? What didn't? And most importantly, what did I learn?
I like that.
And the integrity report is about revisiting your core values, the things that guide you. Then honestly assessing your level of integrity in your life, your work. And then you think about, how can I raise the bar for myself? These check-ins, they might not take a lot of time, but they're really
Aren't
powerful.
you on track, right?
Exactly. They prevent that slow decline that can happen when we're not paying attention. They remind us of who we want to be and make sure our habits are moving us in the right direction.
The book also talks about perspective. Our daily habits are so powerful, but if we only focus on the tiny details, we can miss the bigger picture.
Right. We get lost in the weeds.
But if we never review our habits, we miss the flaws, the areas where we need to improve. Reflection gives us that balance.
Exactly. It lets us see the trees in the forest.
And finally, this process of reflection and review gives us a chance to think about our identity. Building new habits, it often reinforces our desired identity. But the book argues that holding on too tightly to that identity, it can actually hold us back.
It's like a form of pride, right?
Almost. It makes us resistant to admitting our weaknesses or trying new things that challenge our self-image.
Right.
The book is examples like teachers stuck in their old ways, managers who won't adapt their leadership, even bands that cling to their old sound and stop being creative. The more we define ourselves by one thing, the harder it is to grow beyond that.
That's why investor Paul Graham's advice to keep your identity small is so relevant here. When we let one belief, one role completely define us, we become less adaptable to change.
And change is inevitable, right?
It is. So if our whole identity is tied to being a certain type of athlete or having a specific job title, then losing that can be devastating.
So how do we avoid that?
The key is to redefine our identity in a way that's more flexible. Instead of focusing on those specific roles or labels, we focus on the underlying character traits. So instead of "I am an athlete," it becomes "I am someone who is mentally tough and loves a physical challenge."
So it's more about the qualities that make you who you are.
Exactly. That way, even when things change around us, our core sense of self stays strong.
The book actually uses a quote from the Tao Te Ching to illustrate this, talking about how the soft and supple overcome the hard and stiff. It's a great analogy for the importance of flexibility, not just in our habits, but also in how we see ourselves.
And ultimately, the only thing that's constant in life is change.
Everything changes.
Everything. So those check-ins, those moments of reflection become even more crucial. They help us make sure our habits and beliefs are still serving us well. A lack of self-awareness can really hold us back. And reflection, that's the antidote.
So as you keep building those vital habits, remember it doesn't end with just making them automatic. True mastery, that takes conscious effort. Stepping back, reviewing your progress, and refining your approach. Don't let those good habits, the very things that are supposed to help you, become a limit on your potential.
So think about this. Is there an area in your life where you've developed a habit? Maybe you're even a little too comfortable with it.
And how could you set up a simple review process, something you could actually do, to make sure you keep growing, to avoid that subtle decline that can come with being on autopilot?
We really hope this deep dive into habit formation has given you some useful insights.
If you found it valuable, if you like what we're doing here at Chapters Unfolded, this whole idea of unlocking your potential, chapter by chapter, then hit that like button, tell us what you think in the comments, and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of self-improvement
There's so much more to uncover.
and so much more potential within you.